What a bullet! Scott Arfield! He's been threatening that recently. And all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. Here's Rory now. On the outside. Decent.
Barnes! He got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly. Finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell. Saved by the keeper!
Burnley won it to the end! That is magnificent! They deserve that!
On it by Paul Fontella. Off for a hat-trick.
He's got it! Hat-trick for Nathan Teller! Oh, he's on fire at the minute! 3-0 Burnley! It's Nathan Teller's day!
And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby. Here's Benson. Can he go on the outside? Comes inside. Top shot.
Oh, the goal! Manuel Benson once more! That is top class!
Burnley have done it. Fantastic. Clarence deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello and welcome back to the pre-game show, the first pre-game show of the new 2025-26 season. And he'll say 24-25 then. The pre-game show is back, and of course, TurfCast is back. And yes, I feel like I probably should start this by addressing the elephant in the room of the fact that there's just been no content over the summer. Ultimately, life just got in the way, if I'm going to be honest with you. Like, doing the daily videos and stuff, it's something I love, don't get me wrong. Like, I genuinely love just sitting here talking about the club that I love and probably my main hobby, which is obviously football and Burnley Football Club. So to just sit here and talk to you guys and have so many of you that watch it, and genuinely, like, every single person that reached out just sort of like saying, "Where's the content, mate?" or stuff like that, or "Hope everything's all right." I know I didn't respond to every single one of you, but genuinely, like, I appreciate everybody that reached out because, there were moments in the summer where I was thinking, like, am I going to bother starting it back up again? But I always wanted to, and I was kind of glad that the summer came at the time that it did, because I probably needed a bit of a break, if I'm going to be honest with you. So it was good to do it while I wasn't missing any actual like games and full-time shows and pre-game shows, because I love doing the full-time shows the most. Like, if I'm honest with you, the full-time shows are the things that I love doing the most. It's getting me and like 3 or 4, or maybe just a couple of other Burnley fans, obviously Andrews, Chris, Sams, all the lads that always help out. I genuinely love it. And then I've got all you guys in the comments giving your opinions and stuff. Like, genuinely, it's what I've built here. I love, and I'm not going to get rid of it. There's just been moments this summer where I've been thinking, maybe I should strip it back or something like that, or not start it back up again. But I think ultimately deep down, I was always going to. But yeah, just life got in the way. Like, you know, those of you that listen to me regular know I do have a young son and things like that. So, and he's at school holidays at the minute as well. So that's a pain in the arse as well. Trying to get content in when he's running around the house. Hence why this one is being filmed at night. But yeah, and another thing as well, those of you that watch the channel regularly will know that sometimes we do struggle to get a fan of the opposition on, and unfortunately, it's not a great start to the season, is it? But unfortunately, this is one of the ones where you're just going to have to listen to me waffle instead of having a Spurs fan on the show, because we couldn't get one. And to be fair, it was meant to be Ricky is called from Last Word on Spurs, and they're great. We've had him on the channel loads. I love Ricky. I've met him in person like 2-3 times as well. He's a brilliant content creator. They had the Super Cup last night. I'm recording this Thursday night. So they had the Super Cup last night. Then he messaged me saying that we've had some breaking Eze news. I've not seen that because I'm not that bothered. But I presume Eze might be going to Spurs or whatever it is. I'm not entirely sure. But he couldn't come on, unfortunately. It is what it is. He's another one that has a couple of kids as well. And he's struggling with the school holiday. So he couldn't come on during the day. And then, yeah, it was just a bit of a mess. So this, even though it is titled the pre-game show, is going to be me just taking a look at my thoughts ahead of the new season, having a look at some of our transfer business, and then kind of like looking at how that will translate into the game at Spurs, because there's a few factors. Some people thinking we might be able to nick a result because they obviously played in the Super Cup, as I've already mentioned, on Wednesday, and they said Thursday then. It's Thursday today as I'm recording this. Obviously, when you're listening to this, I'm sure it isn't Thursday. But anyway, let's have a look because I've missed so many signings by not doing any content over the summer. But let's take a look at some of the signings that Burnley have brought in over the summer. Now, I'm just trying to remember how I get the screen on that shows you all the things that I'm looking at. Is that the right button? Have I pressed the right button? Yes, there it is. Right, it's been that long since I've used it. Right, hold on. How do I make it bigger? There you go. Right, apologies to those listening on the podcast, but I need to make it good for those on YouTube as well. Right, so this is the list of Burnley incomings so far this summer. Having said that and doing all that, don't think that I know something and someone else is coming in, because I genuinely don't know a thing. But I'm looking at it's 14th of August at the time of recording this. Still a couple of weeks left. Loan window as well. What, a week longer than that is it usually? Maybe. We've spent a lot of money. So I'll be surprised if we buy somebody else. But who knows? We could bring somebody in on loan. But anyway, let's take a look at some of the signings. Now, I'm not even going to try. In fact, yeah, go on. It's the first show back. It's the first pre-game show of the season. I will try and pronounce Leslie Ugochukwu's name. Is that right? Leslie Ugochukwu? I don't know. Joe the Butcher is back. We're just going to call him Les, aren't we? It's just going to be Les and Steve. Playing for Burnley. Yeah, decent signing, to be fair. Is old Les. I do think he's a good bit of business, of course. He was on loan, playing in the Premier League last season at Southampton. So, yeah, obviously we brought him from Chelsea. I hate it when people say brought instead of bought, and I've just done that. Sorry, this page is glitching all over the place, so I'll just come off that. But yeah, he's a decent defensive midfielder. So I think it's a good bit of business. It's a lot of money, but that's just the way of the world these days. And obviously, I say it's a lot of money before anybody dies on me. Of course, I know it's not the £25 million reported that it is initially up front. It will be a lot of bonuses and milestones and things like that we may or may not hit. One of them might be staying in the Premier League. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm not saying that is in the contract, but things like that. But I think it's a decent bit of business. I think he's that sort of like Sander Berg type. I'm not saying he is that, but we need somebody to fill the hole that he left in the side after he left a couple of years ago. When Sander did leave, because I do feel like a lot of the other midfielders in the team do tend to get overrun in the Premier League, and that included Josh Brownhill. And obviously, we're going to go on to outgoings after this. But I love Josh Cullen, but I feel like sometimes in the Premier can get a little bit overrun. But hopefully, having somebody like this guy next to him, it'll just let Cullen do all the dirty work and get the ball to the better players, and this guy can help him out doing that as well. So, yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't know too much about him in the sense of how he plays and things like that. But I do know he's a bit of a rock and he's quite solid as well. So fingers crossed, obviously, we'll see that from him in a Burnley shirt. Armando Broja is obviously the other one that we brought from Chelsea around a similar time. According to his website, he went for around 23 million euros, which I think the reported fee was, of course, 20 million pounds from Fabrizio Romano. I remember seeing some local lads saying it was a little bit less than that, or obviously, again, it was full of milestones and things like that, which means we might not hit them or get anywhere near them. My concern with Broja is he's never really scored a lot of goals, and he's always had a lot of injury issues. That is the main issue with Broja. But I do think there's a player in there. I genuinely do. From what I've seen of him, I do think there is a player in there. He just needs a run of games in a system that suits him, because when he was at Everton, I don't think the system suited him. I know we are more defensive than what Everton were when he was there. But I feel like with our three across the front and what I think is going to be wing backs in the upcoming season, because I think we'll be playing three centre backs and then the wing backs on either side. That's what we did against Lazio anyway. And I thought when Kyle Walker came in that would where he would be playing as part of a back three, back five, however you want to say it. So if you have them getting forward, putting balls in the box, and decent players up front around him like Edwards and Jadon Anthony, then I do think he could do well. And he just needs a run of games. Not like a period of time where he doesn't get injured. But I am very worried, if I'm being honest, about his injury record. Next up, again, another name I'm 100% going to butcher. I probably should have watched that video that Burnley Football Club posted, I think it was today or yesterday, telling you how to pronounce people's names, because I get them wrong every single time. Is it Lewum or Lowum? And it's Tuka Uuna. That's obviously wrong, and I apologise if he ever sees this video. I'll be honest, don't know too much about him, so there's not much I can say on him, but according to this, he's a right winger, so we will, and we always have done with the front three, interchange them quite a lot. A couple of lads will have a couple of games, a couple of lads have another couple of games, so that gives us a bit of obviously leeway over the front, and it's a place where I did think we needed strengthening. Obviously, Bashir Humphries, we all know how good he is. Unfortunately, he has got a bit of an injury, hasn't he, at the minute, which means he will miss the start of the season. Marcus Edwards, again, we all know how good he is. These are the ones that we obviously made, the loans that we made permanent at the end of last season. So you've got Bashir, Marcus, and Jaden Anthony. All we know everything about them. Hartman, I'm actually impressed with him. I was impressed with the signing, should I say. I think there was a game in pre-season where he didn't look great. But from what I saw of him in the Eredivisie, because I have seen him play before, I thought he looked decent. He looks somebody that will get forward, put balls into the box, and that will suit that wing-back role pretty well, I think. But again, we'll have to see how he is after a run of games. Zian Fleming, again, another loan that we made permanent. And not the standout one, because I do think it's Les and Armando that will be the standout ones. But Jacob Bruun-Larsen, do not sleep on that man. He was our leading goal scorer the last time in the Premier League, I believe. If I'm wrong, spam the chat by saying, Joe, you're an idiot. I mean, you can put that anyway if you want. You put whatever you want in the comments to boost the algorithm. It doesn't bother me. But he was superb, and I was gutted that we lost him when he left. But he's back, and that is a good bit of business by the club. Not a lot of money as well, just €4 million here, which is what? I'm not an exchange rate. So 2.5 million quid. I don't know. I think he's decent. I think he's decent, and I do like the look of Jakob. He was last time he was in the Premier League. And then obviously you got Max. Where's that gone now? This screen's glitched out again. Max Weiss, probably pronounced that wrong as well. I think he will obviously be back up to Dubravka. Now, I got a lot of stick the last time we were in the Premier League because I was critical of James Trafford, so much to the point where he blocked me on Instagram. He's still not unblocked me, by the way. And I felt like a lot of it was justified the last time we were in the Premier League. I didn't feel like it was good enough for the Premier League. It wasn't just his fault. I'm not saying it was. But I feel like he was making wrong decisions, not good enough in the air, brilliant shot stopper. Got so much better last season and was probably I think the main reason we had such a good defensive record last season for me personally was Maxime Esteve. But James Trafford was not far behind him, and he's going to be a massive miss. Genuinely believe he's going to be a massive miss. However, I think Dubravka, despite his age, is a brilliant bit of business by Burnley Football Club. He's come in at 36 years old. He's got plenty of experience behind him, plenty of Premier League experience behind him as well. So it's going to be, I think it's a good signing. I think he is, put it this way, I said to a Sunderland fan and a Leeds fan yesterday when I went on the Roker Report channel, you can check that out over on there. It's a Sunderland channel. I said, I still feel we have the best goalkeeper of the three promoted clubs because we brought in Dubravka. And I stand by that. I think he's going to be just as good as, well, a lot better than what James Trafford was the last time we were in the Premier League, and probably just as good as what Trafford would have been this season for us again in the Premier League. However, obviously Trafford is on an upwards trajectory now to the point where he will probably go on to eclipse anything that Dubravka has achieved in his career. And Dubravka is obviously 36, and that means obviously, I mean, he's 2 years younger than me, so I'm not going to slag his age off. Obviously Zeki Amdouni his comeback, and then obviously it's just getting into all the other stuff as well there. Obviously Zeki Amdouni, obviously he's not going to feature much this season because he's picked up a massive injury, so mentioning him is probably not something I should have done. Obviously you got another name I'm not going to try and butcher. I'm just going to call him Axe. I'm not going, I'll do it again. Axel Tuanzebe. From Ipswich, obviously did well last season. They were disappointed to see him leave their fans. Obviously, Ipswich put up a decent fight last season, probably in a similar fashion to what Luton did when the year that we were in the Premier League, but ultimately just never really looked like having enough quality. But I thought Axel was one of their standout performers, and like I said, the Ipswich fans were quite disappointed to see him leave. And another one that a certain Leeds fan, who you may have seen on this channel quite a lot, when we signed him, he was laughing his socks off. He was criticising it left, right, and centre. He's like, his legs have gone. What are you signing players like that for? You put him at fullback, he's going to get torn to shreds every single week. He's too slow. He's not good. We get it. If Kyle Walker has 75% of his legs left, he's still one of the fastest players in the Premier League because he was rapid. And as I've already mentioned, it's looking like he's going to be part of a back three, back five, whatever you want to call it. I'll always say back three or back five because if you say back three, someone goes, it's a back five. You say back five, someone goes, it's a back three. So back three / back five, whatever you want to call it. And he's not going to be exposed in our defensive line because we will play a deep defensive line. Of course we will. It's Scott Parker, and we did it last season in the Championship. But with him and Steve and potentially anybody else with the three at centre-back, I think he's going to do well there. And I tell you what, I will say, against Lazio, was it Lazio? One of the pre-season friendlies, he looked a class of, but he was pinging the balls diagonally, left, right and centre. He looked very, very good. And he brings, as the same as Dubravka, bags and bags of Premier League experience. And that's what we were missing last time out. Do not underestimate Premier League experience. We just looked lost last time out in the Premier League, didn't we? Because nobody had it. The manager had it, but he had it as a player. And he couldn't get his experience onto the players, could he, the last time that we were in the Prem. Obviously, I'm talking about Vincent Kompany, not Scott Parker. However, let's have a look at the players that have left. James Trafford, obviously we've got a huge fee for him. I've already gone over Trafford a little bit when I'm talking about Dubravka. He's a big loss, don't get me wrong. But I'm going to say you can't really be turning the money down. There was a buyback clause in the contract, so you literally cannot turn that money down, Burnley. But we all knew that Trafford was going to leave, didn't we? Like we all knew that when we got promoted, and that was the last we see of James Trafford in the Burnley shirt. He is going to go on to huge things. Like I said, I know I criticised him last time in the Prem, but he's got so much better. And going back to Man City is, I know they're going to sign Donnarumma. I'm recording this before it's officially announced, but they are obviously in the process of signing Donnarumma and from PSG. So he might be a little bit frustrated with that because Trafford, I always remember the interview when he came to Burnley and basically said, I expect to play first team football wherever I am. He's very confident, bordering on arrogant, some people might say, but I like that mentality in a sportsman. It shows that they believe in themselves, and James Trafford believes in himself. He will believe that he could be Man City's number one now, but he won't be this season. So I'm not sure how Trafford's going to feel about that, but I still think it's a good move for him because he'll probably have a couple of seasons now playing in FA Cups, League Cups, potentially even Champions League in the early rounds, and still gaining bags of experience in a great side. So I think that, it's still a good move for Trafford, if I'm going to be honest with you. Obviously, we'll skip over the lesser sort of like departures like Hando Misengo, Hantondre, Dora. And that obviously takes us to CJ Egan-Riley. I'm disappointed to see him leave, especially for a free transfer, but I felt out of the back three from last season, he was the most easily replaceable. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think he's very good, because I do. I think he's absolutely fantastic, and he's another one. I think Trafford and CJ will be playing for England at the same time for quite a long time together. He's a very good centre-back, and he will get better. He will get better because he's only 22. But I wasn't that disappointed when he left compared to the likes of James Trafford, and, of course, compared to the likes of Josh Brownhill. Now, I know Josh Brownhill's a bit of an anomaly where a lot of people seem to give him stick despite everything he's done for this football club. Last season, without his goals, we do not get promoted. He was super. That was his best ever season in a Burnley shirt for me. And even though he has consistently been a little bit short in the Premier League, like coming up a little bit short in terms of quality in the midfield, as I mentioned earlier, getting overrun, he was part of that midfield. I felt that with the season he had last season, it would be the best chance he had of turning that into a good Premier League season, if that makes sense. But it's not to be. And at the time of recording this, he still doesn't have a club. And the EFL season has already started. The Championship season started last week. Obviously, Blackburn got beat as well. That's great to see. And then lost in the Cup as well. That's even better to see. And the rest of the EFL started the week before. The Premier League starts, as I'm recording this, in less than 24 hours, because obviously Liverpool played Bournemouth on Friday night. So it just seems a bit of a bizarre move from Josh, because he said he wanted to stay. The club said he wanted him to stay. But then Josh left. I And I know the noise has come out there. It's his decision to leave, and that's fine. I'm not going to criticise him for it. I feel like he's been a great servant to the club, and I genuinely want to see Josh go on and do very, very well, very well. I just feel like the stage that he's at now with the season about to start, and him still without a club, is he probably thinking he's made the wrong decision, or was he looking at money, or was that all he was bothered about? I'm not sure. I like Josh, so like I said, I'm not going to criticise him too much, but I do feel like maybe with the fact that he still doesn't have a club and we're getting into the season in the next couple of days, then I think maybe, just maybe, there might be a slight tinge of regret at the minute, but obviously the only person that will know that will be Josh. Right, another thing I want to mention is my predictions for the season, because of course I haven't done a season prediction video due to the things I said at the start of this video, so that brings me nicely onto something that I have done. Now, there will be a video on this as well, so I'm not going to go into it in too much detail because, as I said, I will do a separate video on this in either the next week or the week after that. I just need to wait to see what when certain people want this video to be done. But just to bring this on your screen, now, this is my prediction for the Premier League this season. Now, you will notice that I do have Burnley in the relegation zone. Now, I know, I'm sorry. But I think, again, the people that watch this channel very often will know that I'm not just one of these YouTubers, or not a YouTuber, I can't believe I just called myself that. These creators, I don't even hate that. Wafflers that sit on camera and talk about their club, who will just spout nonsense that's constantly positive. Like, I'm not one of them. I'm always trying to be realistic. And if I think Burnley will get beat, I will always say I think Burnley will get beat. And I do think we get relegated again this season. Look, I think the business that we've done is smart. I think we've been better than what we've done last time we were in the Premier League in terms of recruitment. I don't think we'll be as bad as what we were in the Premier League last time under Vincent Kompany. But I don't think we've done enough to stay up at the minute. As I said, some loan signings might come in. The Scott Parker system might translate better into the Premier League because obviously the Vincent Kompany system didn't. And I don't think the Sunderland one will either. Hence why I have them bottom. But look, I've got Sunderland bottom, Burnley second bottom, and Leeds United third bottom. I feel like Leeds have done some good business, and they were ever so slightly better than us last season. Only on goal difference, I know, but they were ever so slightly better than us last season. And I think with the quality that they've added compared to the quality that we've added, they have taken a little bit of a step up in terms of player quality. If any Sunderland fans do see this, they'll be saying, how weird then? What about us? Like, that's obviously perfect accent. But Sunderland done something very similar to what we did last time. Signed a lot of European unknowns. Well, they're not unknowns in Europe, but unknowns in the Premier League that are going to come over to the Premier League. They're going to take a certain amount of time to get used to the style of play, get used to the physicality of the Premier League, get used to their new teammates, their new surroundings. And then by the time you're mid-October, you're playing catch-up. I just think Sunderland have done too much all at once. And I think ultimately they just won't click. Similar to that week, they'll have flashes where they look good and get good results, and they're thinking, oh, maybe we can start pulling away. But then ultimately, because the Premier League is just utterly relentless, then they'll just never get out of it. And then, of course, Leeds. I've already mentioned Leeds. I feel like they have done some good business. What I will caveat that with is I do feel like the bottom six in the Premier League is not as good as the bottom six in previous seasons. I think Brentford are going to struggle madly this season. And if I'm going to predict anyone to get relegated that isn't of the three clubs coming up, it is Brentford. Keith Andrews as manager? I'm not having that. I'm not having that. So they've lost the manager. Obviously, Thomas Frank has gone to Spurs. They've lost a lot of quality players as well. I think they're going to struggle. I genuinely do. But the thing is, the reason why I've not got them going down is because they've still got quality in there, because they've had the last 3-4 seasons or whatever it is in the Premier League. So they've been able to build on that year on year. And because of the gap now, you can have these transition seasons and still be okay, whereas clubs usually get caught out in them transition seasons, didn't they? Whereas now teams don't. Wolves are another one, lost quality players, but I still think they've got teams good enough in there. Probably my rogue shout with this is that Palace are going to be as low as 15th, especially after the season they had last season and the fact that they're normally always finishing mid-table. I just feel like with them playing in Europe and losing some quality players as well, I just think playing like Thursday, Saturday, Thursday, Sunday, whatever it is, will take a toll on them. West Ham, I've got in 14th. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. They're decent, but they're not that good. Forest, again, another one that seems to have fallen quite away from last season. I do feel like that was a bit of a flash in the pan, though, last season. They won't do doing that regularly. And again, they're going to struggle with playing in the Europa League. And then, so like Thursday, Sunday, whatever it is. Then I've got Everton, Fulham, Newcastle, Bournemouth, probably a bit high, that Bournemouth, Man United, Tottenham, Brighton. Then you've got Villa, Chelsea. I think Arsenal finished third. Gyökeres is a good signing, but I'm not sure he's good enough to fire them to the league title in the Premier League. Then you've got City, and I think Liverpool will win it again, unfortunately. Everybody knows my opinions on Liverpool, but they were great last season. You can't deny that. They were fantastic, and they've added some real quality this season. So, yeah, that's my prediction for the season. I think it's going to be a tough one, but again, ask me again in when the transfer window's closed, and I've seen Burnley play 3 or 4 times in the flesh or on TV if I can't get to the match or whatever. And I might have changed my mind. But we will see. It's going to be a long, hard season no matter what. And genuinely, like when we got promoted, obviously I was buzzing with the promotion. And I enjoyed the ride in the league last season. I loved it. It's probably the season I've gone to the most away games for around 15 years because my little boy was getting into it and he loves the away days and stuff like that. So it was one of them things that I always wanted to do with like my son growing up because I always went on the away games with my dad. And it was always my dream to have a little boy who loved Burnley as much as I did and wanted to go week in, week out. And I did that season because when he gets to like 14, 15, he might not be interested. So he's only 7 now. He'll be 8 soon. So yeah, it was great to do that last season. So don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed it. But the journey is better than the destination when it comes to the Premier League. And I don't particularly enjoy being in the Premier League. Travelling up and down the country to watch your team get beat 3-0 at Brentford, 6-0 at Chelsea, whatever, and things like that. So yeah, it can be hard work, but fingers crossed that they can prove us wrong and prove me wrong because obviously, like I said, I've predicted them to go down. Anyway, looking ahead to the match on Saturday, I'll quickly wrap this up because I've already been waffling for 26 minutes. I always think when I'm on my own, I'm going to struggle to get to 26 minutes, and every time I'll just sit here and waffle. And the majority of you sit here and listen to me. Why, I'll never know. But thank you for doing that. Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's a really difficult opening run of fixtures, isn't it, for us this season? Obviously, starting off with Spurs quite early on, the opening game of the season. And then we've got Sunderland the second game, Man United away, Liverpool at home, Forest at home. We've got some very, very tough games. City away, Villa away, then Leeds and then Wolves. So again, you're coming into then the winnable games. But they're not till October. And you're looking at that Sunderland game now already and thinking, that's huge. Because if we go to Spurs and get beat, which the majority of people will probably predict us to do so, and yes, I am going to be one of them people, you're already looking like, well, we'll probably get beat there. We need to win that match now. This is what I mean about the Premier League. It's relentless. Like, you're not a case of, we've lost that match, maybe we might win the next one. It's, well, that's a defeat. Hold on, this is difficult. This is a very difficult league. So yeah, look, it's going to be difficult. Spurs away is going to be difficult. It might play into our hands a little bit that they've played in the Super Cup. You know what? I was a bit disappointed they lost it. I wanted them to win, not because I like Spurs or anything. I genuinely couldn't care less. But I wanted them to win and then be buzzing and then maybe have a few beers, maybe stay an extra night and not rush back. I don't know how it works. But I really wanted them to win it and then just get on the ale and then have a literal hangover and a Super Cup sort of like travel hangover when it comes to Saturday. Because Saturday is a very quick gap for them to get. They played the game in Italy. I presume they would have got back either very early this morning at the time of recording it or very late last night. So yeah, I think it's going to be tough for us, but that might play into our hands a little bit. But I think ultimately we'll just fall a bit short. It's a tough place to go with Spurs. And I do feel like we'll get beat. I'm going to go. I don't think it'll be a thrashing, though. I think we'll stay in the game. I think it'll be 0-0 at half-time. And then maybe Spurs get a goal around the 58th minute mark and then they kill us off in like the 73rd. So I'm going to go 2-0 Spurs. Yeah, I'll wrap it up there then, shall I? Apologies for the massive summer break. I hope my explanation is enough for you. I hope I haven't lost too many subscribers or too many members. If you did become a YouTube channel member towards the end of last season, I'll just quickly put some of your names up on the screen again. You can join. This is pretty low of me, innit, begging for subscribers and members after one show in like 6 months. But yeah, if you do want to support the channel, you can. Any support is always appreciated. And yeah, it would be absolutely fantastic if you could. But there is genuinely no pressure to do so. If you're watching this video and you aren't subscribed, just subscribe. That'll help just as much. And if you're already subscribed, just hit the like button, because then, yeah, again, that helps the algorithm. And maybe leave a comment as well. Let me know what you think. Let me know your predictions for the Premier League, actually, in the comments below. Who do you think will win it? Who do you think will get relegated? Do you think Burnley can stay up? And let me know your thoughts and opinions and your predictions, please, ahead of this game. Can Burnley go to, and he'll say White Hart Lane then, to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and get a win? Can it be done? Let me know in the comments below. But thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for listening. And we will be back with the full-time show. I do need to speak to the lads, see who's still available. But we will be back with the full-time show after the match, probably on Sunday. And I will hopefully be back with some fan reactions. I'll definitely do my own, whether some people send them in and things like that. Again, we'll have to see, because I've not done one of these for a while. It's the start of a new season, and some people obviously move on and things like that. So, yeah, but thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening, and we will see you next time.